Noelle is a character many Genshin Impact players have access to. Today we're going to answer all of your questions about the best ways to use Noelle, her best weapon, the best stats you need to be getting on her artifact sets, and how you should be using her in Genshin Impact. Thanks for spending that time here in the video today, guys, and let's get right into it for you. To understand the importance of stat allocations that you need to be making with Noelle in your gear selection and choice, you need to comprehend her talent selection. So let's head right into it, starting first with Breastplate, her elemental skill. Breastplate does a couple of things. It is a geo damage attack with a relatively high cooldown that can be reduced with her Ascension 4 talent, nice and clean. In addition to that, because it is geo damage, you can create the crystallize effect with it. The damage that it does do scales off of your defense, and upon using Breastplate, you will apply a shield that will persist through character swaps to Noelle for a period of time. While this shield is around, you will also be able to heal your party with not only your normal attacks, but also your charged attack damage on hit. The higher the level Breastplate is, the larger the shield scaling off of your defense gets, the more damage it does based off of your defense, and the more healing it provides, and the heal proc actually increases. So this is going to provide a lot of utility for Noelle. And lastly but not least, while Breastplate is active, you also have a high chance of reducing any oncoming knockback to your characters, preventing you from becoming knocked around the map if you are so unlucky as to not dodge an attack. Her Elemental Burst is another epitomal part of her kit. Sweeping Time allows you to do an insane amount of burst damage when properly geared. It does a couple very important things. First and foremost, it's going to augment your normal attacks and your charged attacks by extending the range of them and then turning them into geo damage. This allows you to take advantage of geo damage artifacts because it's no longer a physical attack, it's going to be geo type. In addition to that, it's also going to give you bonus attack based off of your defense, and this bonus attack does scale based on Sweeping Time's level. It seems to be about a 3-ish% change per level you get in Sweeping Time, which allows you to get some very, very nice scaling on Sweeping Time, and this works extremely well with the gear selection that you're trying to use with Noelle. Also with her base stat, she has a very high base defense stat, and she actually gains passively bonus defense percent every time you awaken her. Her first awakening here will give you Devotion at Ascension level 1. This is some additional utility for Noelle. While Noelle is in your party but not the currently active character, if your active character falls below 30% HP, you will get a shield that persists for 20 seconds that absorbs damage equal to 400% of Noelle's defense. This can only happen once a minute though, but this is an insane shield, giving that character plenty of time to survive and do damage and maybe get Noelle back into Breastplate, provide another shield, and slowly heal them back up. The final level 4 Ascension talent is Nice and Clean, which will help you reduce the cooldown of Breastplate, which has a normally very lengthy cooldown. Every 4 normal or charged attack hits will decrease the cooldown of Breastplate by 1 second. This is going to substantially change your uptime on Breastplate, especially if you are using Noelle often in your active character slot. Now, Constellations, Noelle is a 4-star that actually scales extremely well with Constellations and actually only has her full potential unleashed at certain constellation levels. So the first one here is I Got Your Back, which while Sweeping Time and Breastplate are both active, which means her elemental skill and her elemental burst, the chance that you will heal someone with your Breastplate is 100%. This greatly increases her availability to become your main role healer. There's no more RNG in your heals, and this is a fantastic constellation to get. Combat Maid is going to provide you with extra charged attack damage, increasing the damage by 15%, but also reducing the stamina cost by 20%. This will also play a role in how you want to gear her up at the end of the game to do some incredible damage as well. Invulnerable Maid is going to increase the level of Breastplate, and then Favonius Sweeper Master, Constellation level 5, is also going to increase the level of Sweeping Time. But we also have To Be Cleaned, which is a very unique constellation. When Breastplate duration is expired or destroyed, it deals 400% of Noelle's attack as geo damage to surrounding enemies. This is a very unique skill to try to master. Generally, you're not going to be geared to fully take advantage of this. The best way to take advantage of this is to have Breastplate expire while your Elemental Burst is currently active. This way, you are going to be gaining all of that bonus attack based off of your defense. And speaking bonus attack based off of your defense scaling, Must Be Spotless, her final constellation, is what really unlocks the insane potential of Noelle. Sweeping Time increases Noelle's attack by an additional 50% of her defense. Additionally, every enemy defeated during the skill's duration adds 1 second to the duration, up to 10 seconds there. The first part here is why we're really here. 50% additional attack scaling off of her defense is a phenomenal thing and allows you to gain access to an incredible amount of stats. But before we talk about stat priority, let's talk about the 3 artifact sets that you should be aiming for as you are working on Noelle. Early on, you're going to have 2 different sets to work towards. You're going to have the Gladiator's Finale set, which will give you extra 18% attack on the 2-piece, and the 4-piece set will give Noelle an extra 35% normal attack damage. The other set bonus that you could be working on at this time is the Martial Artist set. This gives you the 2-piece of 15% normal and charged attack damage, as well as increasing it by an additional 25% to both normal and charge attack damage after using your elemental skill. Now, her elemental skill has a very long cooldown on it, but you are using the Martial Artist set to maximize the amount of burst damage that you get from her elemental burst. This is actually very strong early on because you'll get the full 40% damage bonus during that elemental burst. You will come out, you will use her elemental burst, use her elemental skill, and then start using your charged attack. If you have her level 2 constellation, that will get an additional 15% damage increase. If you don't, you can either choose to use your normal or charged attack, your choice. Later on, though, there's going to be some much better stuff for you guys to gain access to. Those 2 sets are fantastic, but by far the best set for her is the Retracing Bolide set. This is because this skill set works in tandem with Noelle's skill set. The 2-piece bonus of this set increases shield strength by an additional 35%. That is not the reason why we're using this exact set, but it does work well with her additional shielding properties in her kit. The 4-piece bonus here is phenomenal. While protected by a shield, grant an additional 40% normal and 40% charged attack damage. Noelle does not have just one skill that offers up a shield. She does have the shield from her elemental skill, but she also has the elemental crystallized shields when hitting enemies with earth damage. This is going to be applied constantly while you're using her elemental burst because it does do geo damage, and you will be gaining a shield during that time. This leaves you freely to choose between normal or charged attacks at your leisure whenever it is that you want to have Noelle out on the field. So it increases her defensive and offensive properties to the maximum capabilities currently in Genshin Impact at the same time. That is why endgame, you should be getting your hands on the Retracing Bolide set if you want to push Noelle to her fullest. As you journey through Genshin Impact, the different stat priorities that you're going to be having for your Noelle are going to change. Early on, you're probably going to want to just max out her defense to gain the most amount of support possible. During the mid game, a nice balance of attack and defense will do you quite well, and then you want to add on some extra crit hit chance as well as critical hit damage. Later on, you're going to want to once again max out just her defense. Why is this and what dictates that? That's because early on it's very hard to get gear that is itemized, artifacts that are itemized super well for Noelle. Take instance this Gladiator's Triumph. Its base defense percent, so 58.3 defense percent, and also 21.6% attack percent with a little bit of crit hit damage and some HP thrown in there as well. Ideally, one of these HPs would go away. We would also have access to critical hit rate, but we don't have that in this instance. But this is the kind of piece of gear that you're looking for in the mid game. You want to balance out that attack as well as that defense. Early game, it's hard to get something like this. So if you want to use her, you're going to be using her for your healing properties, especially if you're exploring the Abyss. You're going to need 2 different healers, right? Barbara will be for one team. If you have your hands on Noelle, that'll be your other one. During the mid game, though, you're going to want to try to maximize how much damage you can gain while she's out in your party, and this is going to lead you down the road of attack plus defense plus crit hit chance plus critical hit damage. Elemental Mastery strictly for Noelle is going to increase the elemental shield values that you gain from the crystallized effect on the monsters. It's not going to affect your geo damage. It's not going to affect the strengths of your normal shields and your elemental skills. It's literally only going to affect the crystallized barrier effect. So you can feel free to just forego elemental mastery on her. But why later on is it that we are starting to once again go back to straight up defense? And later on means way later on when you have Constellation 6. Once you obtain Constellation 6, you're going to be able to abuse the fact that Noelle is going to have some insane defense scaling damage. Now, technically the stuff that she does do still scales off of her attack, but you're going to be gaining a tremendous amount of attack based off of your defense. Constellation 6 here adding an additional 50%. And remember, later on, you're going to be having higher level talents, especially Sweeping Time itself, because as you level Sweeping Time, this already gives you even additional amounts of attack based off of your defense. You can currently see our attack is 1,322, as well our defense 1,725. We're going to go into a battle, stack up our 4 white blind stacks, and then we're going to use our elemental burst and come back in and check out our stats. You can kind of get an idea of just how powerful this scaling can be. You can check and see how many white blind stacks we have right now. 4 swords means 4 different stacks, 1,400 attack there. And then we're just going to pop this burst, hit it a couple of times here, and we're going to see that we have 2,552 attack, 1,910 defense. This is not the full potential of Noelle. We're not Constellation 6. Our talent for Sweeping Time is not maxed out. Our white blind is not maxed out. Our gear and stats are not perfectly allocated here. But you can see the insane amount of damage potential. We're missing 50% scaling just from the Constellation here. You can get some incredible attack numbers. 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 attack. This is also due to the fact that the base stats of Noelle are incredibly powerful. You can see that she has 617 base defense, which makes her stat allocament towards defense at the end game, like we were talking about, her best stat to stack for burst damage with her elemental burst. In addition to that, every time you ascend her, you can see she's going to get an additional base defense increase on top of a % defense bonus increase. So this is going to be a very powerful way to utilize Noelle to her fullest near the end game. Noelle's a character that can carry you through the early game, will probably fall off substantially for you in the mid game, but when given the proper treatment with the proper substats, the proper main stat, the proper team support to help her fill up her elemental burst, she can do some insane burst damage for you while also providing you that very powerful shield, as well as the elemental shield from the crystallized effect in your team. She might not slot into every team, but hopefully this guide gave you the ways to use her and utilize her to the most efficient that you can as you progress through Genshin Impact. If you guys want more Genshin Impact coverage from the channel, make sure you like and subscribe. It does help us get exposure because this is a new game. Leave below the way that you're using Noelle the most in the comment section below, unless you're going to be saying Expedition, then you can take that one back. But until then, guys, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.